feel like Brandon Aiyuk has been a staple in this program, and for good reason, both good and bad.
It is a very frustrating situation, and I am very frustrated with it as well.
Look at the release.
There's your separation.
Great route.
Stutter and go. Gets by clean.
That is unbelievable.
May be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Is the minuscule Aiyuk target share and targets per route run a product of the team, just not throwing the ball to him, or play design? Poor QB play, coincidence, bad luck, etc., etc. Go ahead.
So, I mean, I got to be honest with you, man. The Brandon Aiyuk thing got me in a salty mood today, because for two reasons. One, I wake up to an email from somebody that literally wants a refund because Brandon Aiyuk is not working out as a 5th or 6th round pick, and there's that.
What?
So that was already a bad way to start the day. I mean, also, by the way, like this is
what a damn refund for a bad take. Like what's going on here? Golly.
For you people out there, like I know maybe not I think most analysts do this. I know James does it, and I definitely know that I do it. If I tell you to draft somebody, I draft somebody. So if you woke up Monday morning or looked at it Sunday night and you saw one catch for 15 yards in your box score with Brandon Aiyuk, so did I.
Right here.
So did I.
Right here, man.
Right here. And I think that the thing that's so frustrating about it is that, like, for J-Pan's question, I have no idea. Like, it's one of the more frustrating situations because that I can remember in recent like fantasy years, because I don't really have a good answer here. Like, there are definitely, I think some of it is basically, you know, I've said all along, like, I don't think the offense with Jimmy Garoppolo is necessarily going to play to the strength of Brandon Aiyuk, like a guy that's going to be a downfield receiver, a player who's going to make explosive plays. We know that Jimmy's going to get that ball out of his hand fast and, you know, not necessarily let a longer developing route come together. So there's that. I think that is obviously part of it, but
right.
You know, he doesn't get targeted from Trey Lance in the second half. I think Trey Lance too, like, looked frenetic. And even Kyle Shanahan said after the game, like, look, that game plan was not designed for Trey Lance. They didn't know that Trey Lance was going into the game until like literally the last second before the second half. So I don't even really care, like, oh, Brandon Aiyuk and Trey Lance didn't connect or whatever, but he did like kind of, you know, Trenton Sherfield and Mohamed Sanu running more routes in week 4 than they did in week 3. And it's just, I don't really know what's up, man. It's just, like I said, players go through ebbs and flows. And, you know, I definitely think I would say the lesson that I've learned so far from the Aiyuk thing, it's actually not too dissimilar to James when I got all gassed up about Tyler Lockett in 2016 and was doing videos with you about Tyler Lockett in 2016. With getting all excited about Tyler Lockett at NFL Network. And I think in that situation, like, the RP numbers were there. I got ahead of my skis and got excited about the player and overlooked the situation-based questions. I don't think that James, you actually wrote up Deebo Samuel as your favorite round 8 pick in our mid-rounds pick article. We had him, you know, in a range that was ahead of consensus rankings just by a couple spots or whatever. So it's not as if we were saying, like, I remember doing the rant on this show about, like, hey, just because I like Brandon Aiyuk does not mean I have to hate Deebo Samuel.
Exactly.
Like, that's stupid.
Exactly.
So, you know, it was not as if it's an all-out avoid Samuel and, like, Deebo. I mean, and Aiyuk was just going to be the guy, but it was pretty clear that there was a lot of outcomes within the range of outcomes where only one pass catcher was going to be irrelevant in this offense. And so far that's been the case. And I think I should have put more credence on that. Players ebb and flow, you know, like Lockett eventually caught up with the RP numbers the production did. And hopefully that happens with Aiyuk at some point. But yes, it is a very frustrating situation. And I am very frustrated with it as well.
I think I think it needs to at least be asked. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me backtrack a little bit before I get to that point.
Okay.
My colleague at DirecTV, John Hansen, the fantasy guru, he is, in my opinion, one of the sharpest minds in the business. Guru is very interesting. The guru is probably not like in the top 10 or even top 15 known fantasy guys. But I promise you, he is like one of the top dudes in the industry. He's been around it for so long. But his whole deal with Deebo Samuel, and he and I were talking about this last night after our show, Fantasy Zone. Please go watch it on DirecTV channel 704. Yes. And he was saying Deebo is such a great zone beater, and is so available.
Yes.
In terms of breaking zones, that when Jimmy Garoppolo or whoever's throwing the ball, when they're seeing zone coverages, it's Deebo's just so available.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard to get away from that. And as we know, quarterbacks, they tend to have favorite receivers. And if a guy is producing for you, and Deebo is producing, it is really hard, I'm sure, to get away from that. And then that bleeds into man coverage. And then now when it becomes man coverage, it's like, where's my guy Deebo at? You know what I mean? So
yeah.
And so I think the point that he was making was, hey, listen, wait for the Niners to play a heavy man coverage. He's like, I promise you, Aiyuk is going to go off. But as you have highlighted extensively, maybe not the best man beater in the world. Terrific against zone. Awesome against zone. But when man coverage comes around, it might be a Brandon Aiyuk game. And I think that is something that that's a little bit more difficult to track because coverage just gets mixed up so much. But certainly something that we could keep in mind.
Yeah, and by the way, Deebo Samuel, you mentioned it. He's sixth best last year at beating zone coverage, 82.2% success rate versus zone. Cooper Kupp, 82.1%. Like, these are two of the best zone beating receivers in the league. These guys and some other zone beating receivers, Deontay Johnson was number one last year. I've put very heavy emphasis on the man and press coverage numbers over the last few years because typically we've written about this on the site, that has shown to be very predictive of career success. And again, I'm not out at all on Brandon Aiyuk from a career perspective. I think we're going to get right at some point. Not at all. Right. But for these zone beating receivers, the NFL has trended more heavy towards zone coverage over the last few years. Like Brandon Staley and the Vic Fangio, trickle down of that. Those are zone heavy teams. The Rams are a zone heavy team. The Chargers who are playing tonight, they're a zone heavy team. I wonder if that's something to maybe look at in the future, that some of these zone beating receivers, actually, maybe we need to start paying more attention to them. I never want to discount a guy like, as I said, in going this year, I never discount a guy like Cooper Kupp or Deebo Samuel just because they're bad at beating man coverage. Like, they have other ways to win. And you're right. Those are layup targets for these quarterbacks. There's a reason Matthew Stafford is, like you said, same thing, except Matthew Stafford's better than Jimmy Garoppolo, but he's definitely out there. Where's my guy Cooper Kupp? I know Kupp's open, baby. Let's go. Let's do this thing.
Hey, listen, we really appreciate you guys watching this video. We really do. But if I could, I just want to take a little bit of time to talk about our great sponsor, Odds Jam. Developed by Stanford engineers, Odds Jam can identify odds that make you a winner every single time. Now you're asking yourself, okay, now how do they do this?
OddsJam uses real-time data to spot discrepancies between different sports books to help users place risk-free bets.
It's called arbitrage. Here's an example.
Last week, the run line in a Rangers game was 2.5. If you bet the over and the under at different sites that have different odds, it doesn't matter what the results are.
If you place the right mathematical bet, you make money. But it's not just arbitrage. If you want to shop for the best odds, OddsJam can do that too. For example,
let's say you like the Packers money line. OddsJam will help you find the best odds for the most profitable returns. OddsJam has all the tools and calculators to help you make some of the best bets possible. Go check them out at oddsjam.com. Yesterday, 13 targets for Cooper Kupp didn't turn into a big game, but chemistry, that reliability is already baked in there. And it is worth noting too, Jimmy Garoppolo was not around when Brandon Aiyuk was popping off last year. He has that baked in chemistry with Samuel, not as much with Brandon Aiyuk. And so I see Crayus in the chat asked about, and I'm still screwed up over here about not being logged in. So James is doing the work for me there. But he did run 33 routes, which was second most among receivers. It was just behind Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. So again, the playing time's not concerned right now. It's just not there yet. We'll see if it happens.
You look at Deebo Samuel, though, you talk about a guy who is just an awesome value, man. I mean, good Lord, middle round player, just absolutely crushing it right now. 12 targets, 8 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets. That's his target volume over the first 4 weeks of the season. And man, Week 1, he goes for 189 and a touchdown. Week 4, he goes for 156 and 2. It's like, oh my goodness. So I'll just ask you straight up in regards to Brandon Aiyuk. 12-team or deeper leagues. Is Brandon Aiyuk a drop?
No, I mean you're not going to find a guy out there that's like running this amount of routes in in an offense we expect to be good at some point. Fair. What are you dropping him for? Who's the hot waiver wire pickup at running back this week? Is it Chuba Hubbard again? That didn't materialize quite like the way we expected it to. So yeah, I mean I would not drop Aiyuk. Like the second he goes and if he comes out this week against the Cardinals and rips them up, then everybody's gonna be picking him up again. So yeah, I wouldn't drop him.
Okay, so there you go. Just got to get that out there though, because we're getting to that point now with Brandon Aiyuk.
Well, we're getting refund. We're getting a refund email. We're definitely getting to should we drop him territory.
Getting refund emails, man. Like, golly, what's going on out here, you guys? What is going on?